In the 3rd year of my relationship with my goddess, I deleted all of our chat histories. I took off the fountain pen she had given me and put it into a drawer, cancelled the performance of the stage play she was in, and used the excuse that the pen was broken to break up with her. This pen can't write anymore. Maybe we should put down the pen too. I thought I had finally brought this fruitless relationship to an end, until a member of the drama club told me. I heard the untouchable beauty from the acting department spent the whole night fishing in the lake, all just to find the fountain pen gift box you casually threw away. Chapter 1. I moved in with Valentina. Saying that out loud sounds even more surreal than the fact that we'd been dating for 3 years. She doesn't like scallions, ginger, or garlic. Cilantro is the exception. She's mildly allergic to mangoes, so she can't eat too much. She's used to drinking warm water. Cold drinks upset her stomach. Before rehearsals she likes to drink snow pear tea to soothe her throat. 2 monk fruits. No sugar. Her favorite breakfast is a sandwich with double cheese. No onions. These were all Valentina's personal preferences, and over the years I had carefully memorized every single one. Junior year, to make it easier for me to write scripts for her, and supposedly so we could take better care of each other, we rented a 1-bedroom apartment near campus together. It sounded romantic. In reality, it felt more like I had secured a 24-hour on-call workstation for my exclusive playwright job. I handled 3 meals a day, utilities, internet bills, and the washing and ironing of all her costumes. She, meanwhile, accepted it all without a shred of guilt, and then shone brilliantly on stage. Chapter 2. Valentina. Drink some water. In the drama club's rehearsal hall, during intermission, I unscrewed the thermos and hurried to the edge of the stage. Inside was snow pear tea I'd gotten up at 5:30 a.m. to make for her. No sugar. Only 2 monk fruits. For 3 years, I had never gotten her preferences wrong. Valentina was looking down at her script, her long hair falling forward and hiding her cool, aloof profile. She didn't look up, only gave a faint mm. I held the cup out, like a waiter waiting for instructions. Valentina, have this. Brandon, her stage partner, appeared out of nowhere, holding a bottle of imported mineral water. He smoothly twisted the cap open and handed it to her. That tea Berlin made. What if it hurts your golden voice? That would be a loss for the entire troupe. Valentina finally lifted her head, took Brandon's water, and tilted her head back for a sip. She was always like this, distant and detached, as if she only showed emotional highs and lows when she was acting. She set the bottle down, noticed my hand frozen midair, and said, "Put it there. I'll drink it later." Silently, I placed the cup of snow pear tea on a nearby prop box. "Oh right, Valentina." Brandon's voice carried over. "Not too loud, not too soft. It's my birthday tonight. I booked a private room at a KTV. You have to come." "No, I've got something tonight. Come on, at least give me some face. Besides, we still need to talk about the script details. I think there are still some issues with the final scene Berlin wrote." I didn't listen any further and walked quickly back to my corner. My phone vibrated. It was a message from Valentina. "Wait for me at home tonight." I looked at those words and smiled with quiet happiness. The irritation I'd felt because of Brandon instantly vanished. So that was why she turned him down. See, she still needed me. That was enough. I typed back, "Okay." Chapter 3. Valentina and I had been in a relationship for 3 years. No, that wording isn't accurate. It would be more precise to say I had been her boyfriend for 3 years. The beginning of our story was as cliché as a third-rate Arthur's film. I was an unknown freshman from the screenwriting department, and I fell in love at first sight with her, radiant on stage. So I started writing scripts for her, one after another, like offerings, piling all my talent and time at her feet. My friends all laughed at me, said I was stupid, said I was a textbook simp. Isn't this just peak simp behavior? They say a simp who simps to the end gets everything, and somehow, I actually succeeded. You actually simped your way into it, Valentina. Man, she's a goddess. Damn, you really hit the jackpot. But yeah, if you didn't simp, plenty of others would. Faced with my friends' teasing, I usually just smiled it off helplessly. Somewhere along the way, devotion stopped being praised as loyalty and became something people sneered at as being a simp. Sophomore year, because of the countless juniors and seniors pursuing her, she was receiving roses almost every day, getting blocked downstairs at the dorm building, making a spectacle everyone knew about. She was fed up. After rejecting who knew how many suitors, she finally came to me. She looked at me, her gaze as cold and distant as ever, and asked, "Berlin, don't you like me?" Then she followed it up with, "Then be my boyfriend." I was so excited at the time I almost couldn't speak. Later, I realized she was just annoyed and needed a shield. And I, on call at all times, able to write scripts, knowing all her preferences, utterly devoted, and most importantly, never causing her any trouble, was undoubtedly the best candidate. For 3 years, I had long since gotten used to all of it. Chapter 4. Today was actually our relationship anniversary. I didn't book a restaurant. I just wanted to spend a quiet evening with her at home. I bought a cake from her favorite shop ahead of time, cooked a few dishes she loved, and waited for her to come back. 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. She still didn't return. Messages went unanswered. Calls went unpicked. At 11, my phone finally lit up. It wasn't a reply from her, it was a WeChat post she had just updated. A 9-photo collage. Location tagged at the most luxurious KTV in City A. In the photos, Valentina stood in the center, surrounded by a crowd. She held a glass of red wine, a faint smile on her face. Brandon standing right beside her. I turned off the lights and sat on the cold floor by the entryway, covering my eyes with my hand. After a long while, I felt moisture seeping into my palm. My heart felt like it had been clenched hard, then slowly released, leaving behind nothing but hollow soreness. I laughed at myself. Berlin. What exactly were you expecting? Expecting her to cancel a gathering for you? Don't be stupid. This wasn't the first time she'd left you behind. I frantically talked myself through it, over and over, until my phone rang abruptly. When I saw her name on the caller ID, my heart still skipped a beat, but when I answered, the voice on the other end wasn't hers. It was a junior girl from the club who worked as my assistant. Is this Senior Berlin? I saw Senior Valentina at the KTV entrance. It's Brandon's birthday tonight, and everyone's having a bit too much fun. She seems kind of drunk. Could you come pick her up? I answered hoarsely and stood up, my movements practiced, as if rehearsed countless times before. I took her coat out of the wardrobe, as though it were a fixed scene written into my script. No matter how much the protagonist struggled inside, it still had to be performed. Ridiculous. Truly ridiculous. Chapter 5. Valentina really had drunk a bit too much, so much so that when I helped her into the apartment, she was still gripping my hand tightly, unwilling to let go. We're home, Valentina. I reached up to untie her scarf. Her cheeks were flushed, even the tips of her ears red. Her eyes were veiled with a thin layer of moisture, staring straight at me. After a long moment, she suddenly rose onto her toes and tried to kiss me. Her balance faltered. I fell backward with her, crashing into the slightly cluttered entryway. For her, things like this were probably just unspoken amusements between lovers, but for me, they were the only moments when I could be sure that I was loved. In those fleeting seconds where lips and breath intertwined, I gave everything almost greedily, just to trade for even the smallest hint of her response. Usually, she was stingy with affection. Only at times like this would she be generous, just a little. Her hands pressed against my chest as soft kisses trailed down from my ear, carrying the faint scent of green grape wine. Valentina, do you remember what you promised me? I pushed her away gently and straightened the collar I'd messed up. She frowned slightly, her gaze unfocused. Most likely, she didn't remember. If she didn't remember, so be it. Even if I blamed her, it wouldn't hurt her anyway. I staggered to my feet and took out the cake that had been sitting in the fridge for hours, holding it up for her to see. You said yesterday that you'd definitely spend our anniversary with me tonight, but you still went out to eat with Brandon and the others. Why? Why couldn't you care about me, even just a little? The words rolled around in my throat countless times, but in the end, I still couldn't say them out loud. She lowered her gaze to the small cake, then reached out, took it from me, and set it on the table, unwrapping it. Brandon was treating. Everyone was there. I couldn't really turn it down. But you clearly told me this afternoon to wait for you at home. Then we'll celebrate now. It's not the same. How is it not the same? It's already past midnight. So what if it is? She stared at me, impatience plainly climbing onto her brows. Nothing. I sighed, resigned, walked over, cut the cake, and gave her a small slice. The overly sweet cream melted in my mouth, while bitterness spread slowly from my heart. I didn't dare tell her how much this idiot had been looking forward to this anniversary. I thought that 3 years, surely it would mean something different. But even if I said it, she wouldn't understand. I lifted my hand and lightly tapped my slice of cake against hers. Valentina, do you think I'll keep writing scripts for you, and only you, forever? She didn't answer that question. I didn't know the answer either, at least for now. I hadn't thought about writing for anyone else. Valentina was like the spotlight at the center of the stage, dazzling, yet cold. I always believed that if I stood close enough, I could steal just a little warmth, and maybe one day, when I no longer want to chase the light, I'll pack up everything and disappear completely from her world. By then, no matter how she calls my name, I won't turn back. Chapter 6. When I opened my eyes in the morning, Valentina was already gone. But on the bedside table sat a small metal gift box, along with a sticky note. There's a script reading meeting today. Remember to go early. I opened the box, and inside was a fountain pen, supposedly handcrafted in Germany. It took me a long moment to realize that this was probably an anniversary gift. So did Valentina actually care about me, or not? Most likely not. If I really left her, she wouldn't be all that sad. She'd probably feel relieved. A lot of the time, I'm grateful that years of reading melodramatic scripts have built me a strong enough inner core. Otherwise, Valentina would have ground me down into complete emotional exhaustion. How else could I still sit beside her at the script reading, smiling like nothing was wrong? Left so early, did you eat yet? I propped my head up with my hand and looked at her casually. I ate, she replied, her tone as flat as ever. When a junior girl on stage began reading the script I'd written, Brandon suddenly slammed his script shut with a loud PAF. Hold on. He leaned back in his chair and looked at me with scrutiny. Berlin, what's the meaning of this monologue you wrote? Are you writing a middle school essay? Flashy nonsense. Just trying to grab attention. Brandon, if you've got the skills, you write it yourself. Am I the screenwriter? Or are you? My good mood evaporated instantly as I glared at him. Bullshit. Your scripts can't compare to Valentina's at all. All this empty fluff. Wagging your tail behind Valentina every day. I bet she's been sick of you for a long time. Valentina, don't you think so? He deliberately called her name so intimately right in front of me, clearly trying to suggest that he had some special relationship with her. But I knew Valentina wouldn't actually get involved with him. Based on my understanding of her, if she truly fell for someone, she'd kick me out and ask for a breakup directly. In Valentina's eyes, there were only scripts and acting. She often forgot to eat or drink for hours, completely absorbed by a single image or scene in her head. Honestly, I hadn't expected her to defend me this time either. Ignoring gossip about us was practically her default setting. But this time, the girl closed the script in her hands and walked toward me. She stopped at my side and looked straight at me. Let's go. This time, not only was I stunned, even Brandon's eyes went wide. Valentina, the script reading isn't over yet. I've finished reading the script. Berlin's script is actually pretty good. As for the rest, you can stay and listen yourself. Maybe it was because she'd grown up in an overly comfortable environment. Valentina treated everyone the same, calm, distant, never gentle. I followed her out of the reading room, feeling my useless heart ripple once again despite itself. Chapter 7. I quickened my pace to catch up with her, suppressing a trace of hope. Even my voice came out tight. Valentina, just now, thank you. In 3 years, this was the first time she had stood up for me. She didn't slow down, didn't turn her head. In her usual cool tone, she said, I wasn't helping you. My steps froze on the spot. She finally stopped and turned to look at me. First, your script is very good. I fully acknowledge that. Second, him denying your script is the same as denying my judgment. I was only protecting what belongs to me. Do you understand? In that instant, it felt like a bucket of icy water had been poured over me from head to toe. The small flame that had just sparked inside me went out with a hiss. I laughed, so ugly it looked more like crying. So in your eyes, I'm just one of your things, too, right? A tool that writes scripts. She clearly hadn't expected that question. Her brows knit tightly, that familiar impatience surfacing on her face. Berlin, can you be more mature? This was just a normal script discussion. Why do you have to drag all this personal stuff into it? I just hope, I pointed at my chest, looking at her almost pleadingly, that when everyone else is denying me, you can stand on my side. Even if, just once, it's for me, not for your script. She fell silent, lips pressed together, as if locked in a difficult internal battle. After a long moment, she looked away and dropped a single sentence. I'm tired. I don't want to argue. With that, she walked straight toward the apartment and never looked back. I watched her retreating figure, feeling all my strength drain away, and I finally understood, what stood between us had never been other people, but her heart. A heart that seemed forever impossible to warm. Chapter 8. Valentina and I entered a cold war. Calling it a cold war was generous. Most of the time, it was just her ignoring me, living under the same roof, yet like two strangers who knew each other too well. I cooked. She wouldn't even look, ordering takeout instead. I spoke to her. She either didn't respond or replied with a curt or "oh." The air in the apartment was as cold as an ice cellar. I couldn't take the suffocating atmosphere anymore, so I grabbed my laptop and went to the school library. That was where I ran into my senior. Michelle was a senior from our screenwriting department, 2 years ahead of me. After graduating, she'd gone straight into one of the country's top film and television companies. Now she was already an independent project planner. Berlin, it really is you. She walked over with a look of pleasant surprise. Senior. I stood up quickly. Sit, don't be so formal. She smiled and took a seat across from me. How have you been lately? Still working as the drama club's in-house ace screenwriter? Something like that. I gave a wry smile. I read the script from your performance last year, Michelle said sincerely. It was really good, very inspired. Honestly, have you ever thought about trying your luck outside? Our company's recruiting a screenwriter assistant recently. I think you'd be a great fit. Want to come interview? I froze. Me, can I really do it? Of course you can. Don't sell yourself short. Michelle pulled out a business card and handed it to me. This is my contact info. Next Wednesday afternoon, Come straight to the company and look for me. I'll take you to meet our director. Prepare well, I believe in you. She patted my shoulder, her smile bright and warm. At that moment, I felt the long frozen ice in my heart finally show a hint of melting. Thank you. No need to thank me. Talent shouldn't be buried. We chatted for a while longer, mostly her sharing interesting stories from the industry. I hadn't felt this relaxed in a long time, until a familiar figure appeared at the library entrance. It was Valentina. She stood there, quietly watching Michelle and me. Michelle noticed her too, winked at me with a smile, and said, "Your girlfriend came to check on you. I'll get going then. Remember to contact me. Take care, senior." After Michelle left, Valentina slowly walked over. "Who is she?" she asked, her voice cool. "A senior. Her name's Michelle," I explained. "She thinks my writing's good and recommended I interview at her company." Interview? Valentina frowned, rare for her. "You're going to a film and television company? Just to try. Our graduation production script isn't finished yet." Her tone was flat, like she was stating a fact, yet it carried an unquestionable pressure. "I'll finish it. Do you think," she suddenly asked, "that I'm holding you back?" I fell silent. She turned and walked away. I stared at her back, my emotions in a tangled mess. Was she jealous? Or was she just worried that her exclusive screenwriter was about to slip away? Chapter 9. I started preparing seriously for the interview, spending every day buried in the library, researching, revising my portfolio. I stopped cooking for her, stopped reminding her about changes in the weather. We became like two parallel lines that would never intersect, living in the same space. On Tuesday night, to prepare for the interview the next day, I was organizing materials at the living room table, working until late. The bedroom door suddenly opened. Valentina walked out, wearing a silk pajama set. She didn't look at me, went straight to the fridge, and took out a bottle of water. Just as she turned to go back to the bedroom, she stopped. "You're really going?" she asked. "Yeah. What if I don't want you to?" I looked up at her. Only a floor lamp was on in the living room, its dim yellow light outlining her slender figure. "Why?" I asked. She didn't answer. Instead, she slowly walked toward me. She stopped in front of me and lowered her gaze to the portfolio spread out on the table. "These, you wrote all of them. Who else would have?" She reached out, her fingertips lightly brushing over the script cover with my name printed on it. Then suddenly, she bent down, bracing her hands on the arms of my chair, trapping me between the chair and her. I could smell the faint scent of her body wash, mixed with a barely perceptible trace of alcohol. "Berlin." She looked straight into my eyes. Those eyes that were always cold now seemed to burn with a small flame. "Do you think Michelle is better than me?" "She's just my senior." "Is that so?" She leaned even closer, her breath brushing against my face. "She appreciates you. She gives you opportunities. Isn't she much better than a girlfriend like me, someone who only orders you around and keeps denying you?" The cool moonlight fell evenly across her brows and eyes. She looked down at me. In the shadows, her eyes were like a pool of deep water. I couldn't see the emotions within it, and I had never truly understood the version of myself reflected there. A ridiculous thought crossed my mind, that as long as the thread between us hadn't snapped, as long as she was still part of my story, she was ultimately still mine. As for how tightly that thread was strangling me, how bitter this story was to write, that was all on me. The next second, she kissed me, like a declaration of ownership, forceful, intense, carrying a hint of punishment. My mind went blank, but my body reacted before reason could catch up. I grabbed the back of her head and deepened the kiss. All the pressure, grievance, resentment, and love I'd been carrying lately erupted at once. We were like two beasts tearing at each other for warmth, entangled wildly in the living room late at night, then on the large bed in the bedroom. Only when both of us were gasping for breath did she finally pull away, her forehead resting against mine, her voice trembling slightly. "Don't go." She looked at me and said each word slowly and clearly. "Berlin, don't leave me." Chapter 10. After that night, our relationship seemed to ease a little, yet at the same time, it felt like nothing had really changed. In the end, I still didn't go to the interview. Michelle messaged me, and I only replied with, "Sorry, I don't think I'm ready yet." Valentina seemed quite satisfied with my choice, and toward me, she finally showed a trace of what a girlfriend should be like. She would take the initiative to ask how my script writing was going, and sometimes, when I was cooking, she would stand at the kitchen doorway and chat with me. I almost believed that we could finally live like a normal couple. Today was the club's internal vote. My script was far ahead of Brandon's. The night before submissions were due, the club called an emergency meeting. Brandon stood up, his face heavy, his voice tightly wrapped in suppressed anger. "My script file won't open." I checked. "It's been infected with a file-corrupting virus." He shot a pointed look at me. "This virus is very specific. It only targets large document files, and it was planted after last night's voting results came out." What a coincidence. Huh. Berlin. All eyes snapped toward me at once. It wasn't me. "Oh, not you." Brandon sneered. Then do you dare hand over your laptop and all your USB drives so everyone can check them? This is slander, an insult to my character. I laughed in anger. Slander? Brandon spread his hands and turned to the others. Everyone. I just want justice. My hard work has been destroyed. Don't I at least have the right to find out the truth? Murmurs rippled through the room. The looks people cast at me were filled with suspicion. I ignored everyone else. I only looked at Valentina. She was the head of the club, and my girlfriend. At that moment, all I needed was a single sentence from her. Valentina, you should believe me. I looked straight into her eyes, saying each word carefully, my voice trembling in a way even I hadn't noticed. Valentina stood at the center of the crowd, brows tightly knit. She looked at me, then at the aggressive Brandon. In her gaze, there was hesitation, calculation, a weighing of pros and cons, but not the one thing I wanted. Unhesitating trust. Berlin. She finally spoke, but avoided my eyes, addressing everyone instead. Let's all calm down first. This has to be handled fairly. Fair? I stepped forward. He accuses me out of thin air. And you call that fair? I forced her to look at me. Valentina, look at me. 3 years. Do you know how many scripts I've written for you? How many nights I stayed up? Have I ever done a single thing that betrayed you or the drama club? Now he slanders me, and you want me to prove my innocence. Her gaze flickered for a moment, then quickly returned to that familiar cold rationality. Berlin. This isn't about belief, it's about procedure. Brandon raised a question, and I have a responsibility to clear everyone's doubts. That's the most responsible approach, for you, for him, and for the entire drama club. I almost laughed from sheer disbelief. So you're going to examine my personal belongings in front of everyone, like interrogating a criminal? If you didn't do it, then what's the harm in checking? She replied coolly. Why are you always so emotional? Can't you be rational for once and think about the bigger picture? Is your personal dignity really more important than the reputation of the entire club? I looked at her, the girl I had loved for 3 years, and yet, at that moment, she felt so unfamiliar to me. She looked at me without a trace of warmth, as if I were a troublesome stranger. She took a deep breath, then, in a tone that allowed no refusal, said the words that completely crushed me. Berlin, stop making a scene. Hand over the computer. Chapter 11. The final outcome was downright dramatic. A student from the IT department found no viruses at all on my laptop or USB drives. Instead, they discovered that Brandon's own computer had been infected by a virus bundled with some shady software he'd downloaded recently. The truth was laid bare. Brandon's face shifted between green and white. I felt no sense of victory, only endless exhaustion and sorrow. Valentina walked up to me. For the first time, her voice carried a hint of guilt. Berlin, I'm sorry. No need to say it. I cut her off, my voice as calm as stagnant water. You did it for fairness. I understand. I packed up my things and, under everyone's complicated stares, walked out of the rehearsal hall. I thought that would be the end of it. At the very least, I expected an apology from Brandon. I didn't expect him to stop me at the corner of the hallway. Who knows if you were feeling guilty and secretly deleted the virus overnight, then played the victim. He sneered at me, his tone flippant and mocking. That single sentence lit the fuse on all the anger I'd been suppressing. I swung my fist. Impulses are demons, but I really couldn't take it anymore. In the end, both of us were injured. We were pulled apart by classmates who rushed over and sent to the campus clinic. My lip was split. His eye was bruised. Neither of us came out on top. I don't know why, but lying on the cold bed in the clinic, a ridiculous expectation crept into my heart. I hoped Valentina would come. And then, she did. The moment she pushed the door open, my heartbeat skipped. She paused when she saw the injury on my face. For a split second, I almost believed she would walk over to me and ask if I was in pain. But she didn't. Instead, she stood up and walked straight past me to Brandon, the one sitting a few seats away, the one who'd wrecked my face. When you've rested enough, come with me. The graduation production plan still isn't finished. The advisor's rushing us. I didn't look at Brandon's expression. I imagined it was probably laced with provocation and smugness. All I felt was a numb ache in my chest, like countless needles pricking me over and over. Even the wound on my face seemed to throb in sympathy. I pressed a hand there and told myself, Berlin, let it hurt one last time. After this, it won't hurt anymore. Chapter 12. Valentina didn't return to the apartment until around 9 that night. Did you finish the graduation production plan before the deadline? I was sitting on the couch. I looked up and asked her, my tone as neutral as talking about the weather. She gave a soft acknowledgement at the entryway, changed her shoes, and walked in. When she passed by me, she stopped. You guys got into a fight today. Does it still hurt? Questions that barely scratched the surface. I shook my head and didn't answer. She fell silent as well and walked straight into the bedroom. All of a sudden, it felt like this really was just an ordinary night. The next morning, I received a phone call. It was Michelle. Berlin. Why the sudden change of heart? What happened? Nothing. Don't lie to me. The drama club mess of yours has spread everywhere. Michelle sighed on the other end. Let me put it this way, the director read your script and really liked it. That internship offer will stay open for you. Once you've thought it through, you can come to Haida anytime. Thank you. Chapter 13. After hanging up the phone, I started packing my luggage. At the very end, I saw the fountain pen Valentina had bought for me. I pulled off the cap and drew a line across the paper. The ink flowed smoothly. It wasn't broken. What had broken was our relationship. I put the pen back into its delicate metal gift box. When I went downstairs and saw the vast artificial lake outside the window, I used all my strength to throw the box into the water. It landed with a dull thud, like a farewell that had been 3 years overdue. I booked a train ticket to Haida for that very night. As the train started moving, the city lights sped backward outside the window. I took out my phone, opened my chat with Valentina, and tapped Clear Chat History. Then I typed the final message. The pen you gave me can't write anymore. Maybe we should put down the pen too. So, Valentina, let's break up. Click Send. Then block, delete, power off. Goodbye, Valentina. Goodbye. My 3 years of youth. Chapter 14. Another 3 years passed. Teacher Berlin. This is the final version of the script. Please take another look. All right, leave it here. I replied without lifting my head. In 3 years, I was no longer the anonymous ghostwriter hiding in the shadows, but a well-known, award-winning screenwriter in the industry. Michelle had become my boss, and our collaboration was close and seamless. Oh right, Teacher Berlin, my assistant Xiaochen added before leaving. The first main creative meeting for the new project is at 2 this afternoon. Don't forget. Will the original writer be attending today? I asked. Yes, I heard she's a very elegant actress. Her name is Valentina. My heart skipped a beat. 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Company conference room. The door opened, and the project lead walked in with someone beside them. Teacher Berlin, let me introduce you. This is the original author of this project, Teacher Valentina. I looked up. 3 years apart. She hadn't changed much, still the same icy, goddess-like presence. She saw me too. The instant she recognized my face, her entire body stiffened. Her pupils contracted sharply, as if she'd seen something unimaginable. I simply looked at her calmly, the way one looks at a stranger. I stood up and extended my hand, my voice polite and distant. Hello, Teacher Valentina. I'm the chief screenwriter for this project, Berlin. I've read your script. It's very well written. She lowered her head in a fluster, reached out, and lightly shook my hand. Her fingertips were cold, trembling slightly. Br. Berlin. Teacher. Hello. Once, when she used my full name, it always carried a trace of impatience. Now, a single, Teacher Berlin, sounded so awkward, so restrained, so humble. It really felt like a lifetime ago. Chapter 15. Throughout the meeting, I showed no sign of anything unusual. As a professional screenwriter, I calmly and objectively analyzed the strengths and weaknesses of her script. I listed revision suggestions one by one, my tone flat, devoid of any personal emotion. Valentina sat across from me, head lowered, pen in hand, jotting notes rapidly in her notebook. Still dressed in white, tall and slender, that face still impossibly beautiful, that damn familiar coolness still fixed on her expression. When the meeting ended, everyone stood up and left. She remained seated. I packed up my things and prepared to go. As I passed by her, she suddenly spoke, her voice low, carrying a faint, barely perceptible tremor. Berlin, can we talk? I stopped, but didn't turn around. Teacher Valentina, other than work, there's nothing for us to talk about. I've been looking for you all these years. Why? I replied. Didn't we already break up? I never agreed to it. Her eyes reddened as she pressed on stubbornly. Why did you break up with me? This was the first time in all these years I'd seen her eyes red to that extent. She stood up and walked around to face me. Her vision was blurry, yet she stubbornly refused to let the tears fall. When I found out you'd become a top-tier screenwriter, I was genuinely happy for you. I wrote script after script, submitted them to your company over and over. Just so you'd know I was looking for you. I wanted to ask you, why back then? I looked at her, this girl who had once been too stingy to even offer me an explanation, now obsessively demanding an answer from me. The reason doesn't matter anymore. I cut her off calmly. It's all in the past. I stood up to leave. She grabbed my wrist from behind. Berlin. I turned back to look at her. Can we not break up? No. Even I was surprised by how fast the answer came. I dropped those words lightly and walked out of the meeting room without looking back. Chapter 16. Once the adaptation officially began, Valentina and I, chief screenwriter and original author, ended up seeing each other constantly. The tension between us was so low it made the entire project team tread carefully. That night, as usual, I was working overtime at the office, revising drafts until my head ached. Berlin. Drink some water. A familiar voice sounded above me. I looked up to see Valentina standing by my desk, holding a cup of snow pear tea, with 2 monk fruits added. I put in sugar cubes. I remember you like it sweet. Steam curled upward, blurring her face. That she could remember my preferences was something I had never expected. I looked at the cup. The scene from 3 years ago, me standing in the rehearsal hall, holding out a cup like a waiter waiting for her favor, played vividly in my mind. How the tables had turned. Thanks. I'm not thirsty. I looked away, my voice completely steady. You used to have a bad stomach. Drinking this after staying up late helps, she said, nudging the cup forward, her tone carrying a cautious trace of ingratiation. My stomach's fine now. I leaned back in my chair and looked at her. Teacher Valentina, caring about colleagues is fine, but excessive concern isn't necessary. We're just work partners. Her hand froze midair. The color drained from her face bit by bit. After a long while, she silently set the cup of snow pear tea down at the corner of my desk, just like I had once done. Then, remember to drink it, she said softly, before turning away and returning to her workstation, her back looking lonely and subdued. Chapter 17. Another week passed. The project hit a bottleneck. I pulled several all-nighters in a row and felt like I was barely holding myself together. That morning, I showed up at the office with dark circles under my eyes. Just as I sat down, Michelle walked over carrying a bag. Here, your life-saving rations. Inside were sandwiches from that place in South City, with double cheese and no onions. My favorite. Thanks. I took it and bit into it. Don't thank me. Michelle jerked her chin toward the side. That stunning Valentina was waiting at the company gate at 7. She even drove to South City and queued up just so you could eat something hot the moment you got to work. Damn, Berlin, this is straight up emperor-level treatment. My chewing stopped. I turned my head toward Valentina's workstation not far away. She was pretending to read documents, but the tips of her ears, bright red, gave her away. I set the sandwich down, picked up my cup, and stood up, walking over to her. She looked tense, like she'd stopped breathing altogether. I stopped in front of her desk and set the cup down. Teacher Valentina, I said calmly, looking at her. Thank you for the breakfast, but you don't need to do this anymore. I don't like sandwiches. She snapped her head up, her eyes full of shock and hurt. But you used to. People change. I cut her off, just like she once cut me off. What I liked before, I don't necessarily like now. Please remember that. With that, I turned around and walked back to my seat without looking at her again. Behind me, Valentina bit down hard on her lip. Tears instantly flooded her eyes. Chapter 18. That night I stayed late at the office again, but couldn't write a single word. Michelle walked in with 2 cups of coffee, still thinking about her. I didn't answer. That was answer enough. All right, forget it. Let me show you something interesting. She nodded toward the director's office nearby. President Chin, the unquestioned boss of our company, had just opened his office door when a senior from another department blocked him at the entrance, shoving a homemade lunchbox into his hands. President Chin, your stomach's acting up again, right? I cooked this millet porridge specially for you, she said with an overly eager smile. President Chin took it without expression. Thanks. I'll have finance transfer you the money. Oh, no need. It's necessary. With that, President Chin closed the door. I looked at Michelle's instantly deflated expression and couldn't help laughing. You're simping even harder than I did back then. Get lost. Michelle rolled her eyes at me. I'm pursuing true love. Totally different. Okay. Chapter 19. To better adapt the script, our core creative team went to the story setting, a remote mountain town, for field research. Along the way, Valentina kept trying to find chances to get close to me. She wanted to sit next to me at meals, wanted to be in my group during location scouting. Each time, I sidestepped it without making a scene. Some parts of the town had very heavy dialects, and the local guide we hired didn't speak very standard Mandarin either. Communication was exhausting. Just as I was frowning, struggling to understand what the guide was saying, Valentina walked over. She spoke a few sentences with the guide in fluent local dialect, then turned to me and said in the cool voice I knew so well, he says the suspension bridge up ahead is in disrepair. Only 3 people can cross at a time. I froze for a moment. How do you? My grandma's place is near here, she explained. Then she looked at me, her gaze carrying a hint of expectation she didn't even seem aware of herself. For the next few days, I can be your personal translator. It was a reason I couldn't refuse. Thank you, Teacher Valentina. You've helped the entire team a lot, I said politely, deliberately keeping my distance. The light in her eyes dimmed, but she still nodded and followed behind me. Chapter 20. Because of location difficulties and the weather, Michelle and I decided to keep the whole crew here for a while. Today, when I went downstairs to buy water, I ran into Michelle leaning over the balcony, silently crying. I walked over and handed her a tissue. She snatched it away and blew her nose hard. Berlin. I got dumped. You confessed. Yeah. Her voice trembled with tears. I told him I've liked him for 3 years. Guess what he said? What did he say? He said, Michelle, don't waste your effort. My mom just married your dad last week. By seniority, you have to call me brother now. Buffed. I sprayed a mouthful of water all over her face. Looking at Michelle's soaked expression, furious and on the verge of laughter, I suddenly felt that maybe all unrequited love in this world shared the same core. A ridiculous farce. Chapter 21. With translator as a perfectly legitimate excuse, Valentina practically stuck to me every step of the way. I couldn't shake her off, so I let her follow. The temperature difference in the mountains was huge at night, and the wind cut straight through you. I was rubbing my arms when a jacket carrying a faint citrus scent was draped over my shoulders. It was Valentina's. The temperature difference between indoors and outdoors is big. It's cold outside, don't catch a chill, she said, repeating the exact words I had reminded her of countless times back then. I took the jacket off my shoulders and handed it back. Thanks, I'm not cold. Wear it, she said, not taking it, looking at me stubbornly. Your stomach's not good, you can't get chilled. I already told you, my stomach's fine now. My tone cooled. Teacher Valentina, please stop doing these unnecessary things. They make me uncomfortable. I stuffed the jacket back into her arms and turned to leave. I thought she would be like before, at a loss, then quietly back away. But this time, she didn't. She chased after me, once again draping the jacket over my shoulders. Then, almost roughly, hugged me from behind, wrapping me and the jacket together in her arms. Berlin, I'm cold. Her voice came muffled from behind me, carrying a tremor she didn't even seem to realize herself. Wear it, just think of it as lending me a bit of warmth. Okay. My whole body stiffened. I could feel her shaking, whether from the cold or from fear. I didn't know. I used to think I was shameless. I never imagined that one day, I'd think Valentina was even more shameless than I was. In the end, I didn't push her away again. Chapter 22. On the last day of scouting, we arrived at a crucial location from the script, a cliff. I stood at the edge, holding up the viewfinder, studying the light and composition. She stood not far behind me. Berlin. She finally couldn't hold it in anymore. I know I did a lot of wrong things before. Can you give me another chance? A chance. I lowered the viewfinder, turned to look at her, and smiled, though the smile never reached my eyes. Valentina, do you think that just because you're being nice to me now, I should be grateful and crawl back to your side? That's not what Then what is it? I pressed forward step by step, backing her toward the edge of the cliff. You're just unwilling to accept it. Unwilling to accept that I was the one who ended this relationship. Unwilling to adapt to the fact that the caretaker who used to revolve around you disappeared. This isn't love, Valentina. This is just your possessiveness acting up. Her face went deathly pale. Her lips trembled. No, that's not it. Enough. Don't waste any more effort. I cut her off and looked straight at her, enunciating every word. We're over. Completely over. With that, I turned around, ready to leave. At that moment, I heard the sound of loose gravel tumbling down from above. Watch out. A sharp, urgent cry from Valentina rang out behind me. Before I could even react, I felt a tremendous force slam into my back, shoving me violently forward. Chapter 23. I staggered forward and fell hard to the ground. Immediately after, I heard a thunderous rumble, mixed with screams from the crowd. Still shaken, I turned my head, and saw that where I had just been standing, a massive rock nearly as tall as a person was sliding down from above. A small landslide. Cold sweat broke out all over me. I scrambled up from the ground and frantically searched for her. She had pushed me away, but didn't have time to dodge herself. Another falling rock smashed into her leg. She lost her balance and, screaming, rolled down the steep slope, not very high, but dangerously sharp. Valentina. My eyes split wide. Without thinking, I charged straight toward the cliff. I dropped to my knees at the edge and looked down. In that instant, my mind went completely blank. Chapter 24. Outside the emergency room, I leaned against the cold wall, my whole body shaking uncontrollably. Hours later, the doors finally opened. The doctor stepped out, removed his mask, and looked utterly exhausted. I rushed up to him, my voice hoarse. Doctor, how is she? He glanced at me and sighed. She survived. Her left tibia is fractured. She'll need at least 3 months of rest. The more troublesome issue is her vocal cords. He paused, his expression grave. The patient's vocal cords suffered severe tearing from the impact. She has temporarily lost her voice. Recovery will take a long time, and whether she can fully return to her previous condition depends on her rehabilitation and her own effort. Temporary loss of voice. I couldn't tell whether I felt relieved, or even heavier than before. At least, she wasn't completely ruined. But all of this, she did it to save me. I collapsed onto the bench in the corridor, burying my hands in my hair. Guilt and pain surged over me like a tide, drowning me completely. Chapter 25. After Valentina woke up, for a long time, as long as I stayed by her side, she was unusually quiet and cooperative. I didn't know whether the word well-behaved was appropriate for her. She ate when I fed her. She agreed to every treatment I asked her to undergo. I'd heard that medication for vocal cord recovery was extremely painful, but in front of me, she never made a sound. I thought this was a good sign. until the day I had an urgent matter at the company and had to leave the hospital for half a day. I hadn't been gone long when the phone in my pocket started vibrating like crazy. It was the hospital. "Sir, could you come back?" The attending doctor sounded anxious. "The patient became extremely agitated when she couldn't see you. She's strongly resisting treatment. If this continues, it'll be very hard for her voice to recover." I grabbed my car keys and ran out. When I reached the ward, chaos greeted me. Several nurses were surrounding the bed, trying to restrain her and give her an injection. And Valentina, always so cold, so proud, now had her collar undone, her hair in disarray, the needle ripped from her hand. Like a frightened, trapped animal, she struggled violently, clothes messy, her mouth opening and closing again and again, as if she were screaming with everything she had, yet no sound came out. I could read her lips. She was calling my name. Berlin. Berlin. Chapter 26. What are you arguing about? I stood at the doorway. My voice wasn't loud, yet she froze as if someone had hit the pause button, all movement stopping at once. She slowly turned her head toward me. Then, under everyone's gaze, she raised her hand and somewhat awkwardly straightened her disheveled collar and hair. Even at a time like this, she still had her idle baggage. "I'm here." I said it where I stood, watching her stagger as she tried to get off the bed to come to me. I hurried over. She finally reached me, then plunged straight into my arms. She smelled strongly of disinfectant, mixed with a faint trace of blood. "Valentina, do you seriously think that doing this means I'll forgive you?" I stood there, my whole body rigid. All these years, I kept telling myself that hurting once would be enough, that scolding her once would be enough, but it still hurt, like my heart was being clenched tight, pain spreading through my entire body. She trembled non-stop in my arms, holding me, shaking, crying silently, choking back sobs without a sound. Well, so much for the doctor's instructions. Chapter 27. I gently patted her back, trying to soothe her. My voice came out dry. The doctor already told me everything. I was silent for a long time before finally forcing the words out. "I'm sorry." She shook her head, took out her phone, and typed in the notes app for me to read. "It's not your fault. I was careless. The medical bills, and all the follow-up rehabilitation costs, I'll cover everything," I said, looking at her, enunciating each word. "I'll hire you the best caregiver." The moment she saw the word caregiver, her emotions flared up. She grabbed my hand and shook her head hard. She typed frantically, "I don't want a caregiver. I don't know anyone else. I'm scared." "Berlin, stay and keep me company. Okay, I'm begging you." That, "I'm begging you," stabbed straight into my heart like a needle. I looked at her pale face and those eyes full of pleading, and the words of refusal just wouldn't come out. I still loved her. That love had been sealed away under 3 years of solid ice, but now, that ice seemed to have cracked ever so slightly. But I was afraid. Afraid this was just another one of her performances. Afraid that if I softened even a little, I'd fall back into the same old cycle. "Teacher Valentina." I forced myself to pull my hand back. "I'm not a doctor. Staying here won't help much. Work is really busy." Ignoring the injury to her leg, she struggled to sit up. Tears streamed down in large drops. Even her typing hand was shaking. "Do you think I'm a burden, Berlin? Are you really going to abandon me?" "I'm not." "Then stay." She mouthed at me in a soundless scream. I looked at her desperate expression, my heart torn to pieces. In the end, I still lost. All right. Chapter 28. After a period of recuperation in the hospital, the doctor said Valentina's condition had basically stabilized. What she needed now was to go home and recover slowly. I brought her back to my apartment. She couldn't speak, so she communicated with me through the notes app. "What do you want to eat tonight? I can order takeout for you." "No need. I'll take care of it myself. I washed your shirts and ironed them. They're in the wardrobe." "Thanks. But you can let the cleaning lady handle things like that." She dragged her injured leg, limping as she tidied up the apartment for me, careful, cautious, trying to please, and I became the cold, distant one, pretending not to care, while my heart bled quietly. "Berlin, don't soften," I told myself over and over. "Have you forgotten the pain from 3 years ago?" That day, Michelle came to see me. She was now my boss, and my closest friend. Well, hiding a beauty in a golden house. She raised an eyebrow when she saw Valentina sitting in a wheelchair. "Don't talk nonsense," I said awkwardly. "Oh, I'm not." Michelle walked over, smiling at Valentina. "Teacher Valentina, you know, it's thanks to you letting Berlin go back then that he could achieve what he has today. Don't worry, our Berlin's been very well taken care of all these years," Michelle added, elbowing me lightly. "Right, Berlin." Watching the easy familiarity between Michelle and me, Valentina's gaze dimmed. She forced a faint smile at me, then typed on her phone, "You two talk. I'll go back to my room." She wheeled herself away and closed the door. "You did that on purpose, didn't you?" I said helplessly once Valentina's door shut. "I was helping you vent a little." Michelle laughed. resting a hand on my shoulder. The way she treated you back then, everyone on campus knew about it. Let the past stay in the past. I brushed her hand away and poured her a glass of water. What's really going on? Michelle's smile faded as she took the glass and sat down. Something's off between you two. I gave her a brief rundown of everything. After listening, Michelle sighed. Berlin, I know there's a knot in your heart, but have you ever considered that she really does care about you now? Aren't you being a bit cruel to her? Cruel? I laughed bitterly. You don't know how scared I am. I'm afraid this is all just an illusion, afraid that the moment I turn back, it'll be a bottomless abyss all over again. Chapter 29. I thought things would settle down after that, but I underestimated just how shameless some people could be. After graduating, Brandon became a fairly well-known influencer. Somehow, he got wind of what was going on between Valentina and me and started blowing it up on a massive scale to draw traffic to himself. A few days later, an article titled, "The Rise of a Star Screenwriter, Stealing a Talented Woman's Scripts and Dumping Her After Draining Her Dry," was published on his public account and instantly went viral. In it, he painted me as a calculating gold-digging social climber. He claimed that back in college, I had set my sights on Valentina's talent, used romance as a pretext to steal her script ideas, that once I made it big, I kicked her to the curb without hesitation. He even twisted the recent accident, saying I had deliberately pushed Valentina off the cliff. Overnight, I was shoved straight into the eye of the storm. Brandon's fans and riled-up netizens flooded my Weibo comments like a tidal wave. Holy shit, so Berlin is this kind of person. Valentina's way too tragic. I liked his script so much, disgusting. Turns out the ideas were all stolen. Gold-digging trash. Get out of the screenwriting world. Scum. Garbage. Hope you get hit by a car. Why isn't he dead yet? He ruined the goddess's life and now he's still living off her suffering. Boycott all of Berlin's works. Let him be completely ruined. My Weibo was instantly overrun. Curses and abuse poured in non-stop. My private phone number and home address were dug up, and takeout orders and harassment calls came in 24 hours a day without pause. I locked myself inside my apartment, staring at the obscene comments online, feeling only absurdity and bitter amusement. So this was all it took to destroy someone. A few keystrokes, a fabricated story. As for the truth, no one cared at all. Chapter 30. This time, Valentina was even more worked up than I was. She held her phone, trembling with rage, pointing at Brandon's name on the screen, fury blazing in her eyes. She typed for me to see. I want to clarify this. I want to tell everyone the truth. It's useless, I said wearily. No one cares about the truth anymore. I care, she mouthed at me. Just when I thought I was about to be completely swallowed by this storm of public opinion, Valentina made a decision no one expected. Ignoring the doctor's strong objections, she held an online press conference from a wheelchair. Because she couldn't speak, she wrote everything she wanted to say in advance on sheets of A4 paper. During the live stream, she held them up one by one, letting her agent read aloud the truths that had long been buried. At first, the bullet comments in the live stream were still filled with abuse directed at me. Stop pretending to be innocent, she must be threatened by Berlin. Valentina, if you've been kidnapped, blink. But as her agent read out the details of the past, the tide slowly began to turn. For 4 years in college, I was the one exploiting his talent, enjoying the spotlight he brought me, while never giving him the recognition or respect he deserved. When he was misunderstood, I failed to choose unconditional trust. As for this accident, I willingly saved him. It has nothing to do with him. He never stole anything. Every bit of his achievement was written by him, word by word. The one who deserves condemnation is me, not him. The bullet comments froze for a brief moment, then erupted on an even larger scale. Wait, did we get this wrong? So Berlin was actually the victim. Oh my God, Valentina treated him like that before. I suddenly feel so bad for Berlin. Holy shit, so Brandon was the one twisting the truth. I jumped to conclusions. I'm going to apologize to Berlin right now. Apologize? That's not enough. Go flood Brandon's live stream. Let him learn why the flowers are so red. At the end of the broadcast, she looked straight into the camera, as if seeing me through the screen. Her eyes were red, but she stubbornly refused to let the tears fall. She raised the final sheet of paper. There was only one word written on it. Sorry. Chapter 31. That live stream hit like a bombshell, completely reversing the narrative. The furious crowd found a new outlet for their anger. They withdrew from my Weibo and surged like a tide toward Brandon's social media accounts and live streams. At the time, Brandon was live streaming product sales, completely unaware of the reversal. His stream was instantly drowned in bullet comments. Liar. Villain. Get out. Brandon, you rumor-spreading trash. Apologize to Berlin. You still have the nerve to sell products. You ruined someone's life. Refund. Everything you sell is fake. Faced with a screen full of curses, Brandon's face turned deathly pale, and he panically ended the stream. But the online frenzy was only just beginning. One by one, his scandals were dug up. All business partnerships were terminated overnight, and the influencer career he had painstakingly built collapsed in an instant. The same force that had once pushed me into the abyss rebounded onto him with 10-fold, 100-fold power. A few days later, I learned from the news that under immense pressure and cyberbullying, Brandon had jumped from the rooftop of his apartment building, ending his life. As my name was cleared, my talent and character also became known to more people because of this incident. After the storm passed, the project restarted. I personally took charge of the adaptation, turning it into a story even more moving than the original. A year later, the film was released, achieving both critical acclaim and box office success. Valentina's leg and vocal cords also gradually recovered with active treatment. Our relationship, however, remained in a delicate balance. I no longer spoke to her coldly, yet I always kept my distance. I love her, but I no longer dare to love her. Chapter 32. That day, I drove her to the hospital for her final follow-up check. The atmosphere in the car was heavy. Berlin. She suddenly spoke. Her voice was still a little hoarse, but she could already speak smoothly. The movie did really well. Congratulations. And congratulations to you too, I replied. Can we, she asked softly, uncertainty lacing her voice, go back to how we were? My heart tightened violently. I gripped the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. Valentina, I said quietly, eyes fixed on the road ahead. I don't know. You're still blaming me, aren't you? It's not blame. I shook my head. It's fear. Fear of what? I'm afraid you'll go back to being the way you were before. I finally said what had been buried in my heart. I'm afraid that the way you're treating me now is just guilt, or just because you need me. And when one day you don't need me anymore, will you push me away again without hesitation? Just like before, Valentina. I really can't survive a second time. I'm not, she retorted emotionally. Berlin, I love you. Before, I was too proud, too selfish. I didn't know how to express it. I didn't dare admit how much I depended on you. If I didn't love you, why would I agree to live with you? If I didn't love you, why would I be willing to do those things with you? Berlin. Screech. The piercing sound of brakes, followed by a violent impact, cut her off. A runaway truck slammed brutally into our car from the side. The world spun. My last conscious thought was forcing the steering wheel the other way, using my side of the car to take the main impact. Chapter 33. When I woke up, I realized I was trapped in the driver's seat, unable to move. The front of the car was completely crushed. Shattered glass was everywhere. Valentina. Valentina, I shouted desperately. I'm here, came her weak voice from the passenger seat. I turned my head and saw her face covered in blood, her breathing shallow. Don't be afraid. I'll call for help. I struggled to reach for my phone, only to realize my arm seemed to be broken. Berlin, you know I'm not that kind of person, she said, talking to herself, struggling to pull something out of her bag and hand it to me. It was a rusted fountain pen case, soaked through with blood. I opened it. Inside lay the pen I had thrown away long ago. Michelle said you threw it into the lake. She looked at me, starlight flickering in her eyes, her voice barely more than a breath. I searched all night. When I found it, it was already rusted. But the pen wasn't broken. Stop talking, please. Stop talking. Tears burst out of my eyes. Berlin. I'm sorry. Before, it was my fault. I love you. I always have. Forgive me, please. Her hand fell limply to the side. No, Valentina, wake up. I screamed hoarsely, losing my mind. I forgive you. I forgive you. I love you. I love you too. Don't sleep, please. In the distance, the sirens of an ambulance wailed closer and closer. I clutched her hand tightly, pressing the cold fountain pen against my chest. Valentina, hold on. Our story isn't finished yet. Chapter 34. The car accident left me with several broken bones. She suffered a mild concussion, and the wound in her leg reopened. Thankfully, we both survived. That crash also felt like a brutal sacrifice, one that finally shattered the invisible wall between us. I admitted my fear. I admitted that I still loved her, and she, at last, tore away all her pride and pretense. A year later, after our recovery, we moved in together again. This time, not as screenwriter and female lead, but simply as Berlin and Valentina. That night, I was sitting on the living room couch reading a script when the bathroom door clicked open. Valentina walked out. She was wearing only one of my white shirts. The oversized hem barely covered the tops of her thighs. Her long hair was still damp, droplets of water sliding down her graceful neck and disappearing into the hollow of her collarbone. My breath hitched. She walked toward me step by step, barefoot on the floor, making no sound, like an elegant, dangerous cat. She stopped in front of me, bent down, and braced her hands on the back of the couch, trapping me in her shadow. What are you reading? She asked, her voice tinged with the soft allure of just having bathed. warm breath brushing my ear. A script, I said, my throat suddenly dry. Is it good? It's okay, better than me. As she spoke, she leaned down and lightly pecked my lips. My mind exploded with a boom. The script slipped from my hands and fell onto the carpet. I reached out, wanting to pull her into my arms. She laughed and dodged away, straightening up and looking down at me. Berlin, you haven't answered me yet. Answered what? What you said in the car. Does it still count? Which part? I asked knowingly. You said you forgave me. There was tension and anticipation in her eyes. I leaned back against the couch and looked at her, deliberately putting on a stern face. Verbal forgiveness is only temporary. Then what counts as real forgiveness? I haven't figured that out yet, I said leisurely. After all, I suffered for 3 whole years. She looked at my fake seriousness and suddenly laughed. That smile, like ice and snow melting at the start of spring, was dazzling. The next second, she bent down again and kissed me without warning. Gentle, lingering, carrying the preciousness of having nearly lost each other, and a careful, tentative love. I couldn't hold back anymore. I wrapped an arm around her waist, pulled her into my embrace, and deepened the kiss. The air in the living room quickly grew warm. Just as the tension peaked, she pulled back slightly, eyes shimmering, her voice carrying a mischievous, breathless edge. So, am I forgiven now? I looked at her flushed cheeks and those eyes glistening with light. All the grievances and heartache of the past years vanished in that instant. With a swift motion, I flipped us over, pinning her beneath me on the wool carpet. Reclaiming the initiative, I lowered my head to her ear and, in a voice meant only for the two of us, said with a smile, that depends on how well you behave.